So I recently watched The Royal Hotel, the brand new film from writer-director Kitty Green, who made the movie The Assistant, a movie that I absolutely love. This is her second movie, and it stars Julia Garner, Jessica Henwick, and Hugo Weaving, and I thought it was pretty alright. So let me get into it. The first thing I want to say is, yeah, The Assistant is one of my most slept-on movies ever. It's a movie that nobody talks about, and not a lot of people have seen, but it is absolutely tremendous. It's a very, very small, very smart movie that stars Julia Garner, and is essentially like this Harvey Weinstein-esque story depicting, you know, what Harvey Weinstein kind of was, and that relationship between people that must have worked with him, and it's a really quiet and amazing movie, and this movie sort of follows the same themes, tackling another hard subject of what it means to be a woman in a certain situation, dealing with certain things that I don't want to completely spoil for you, but it's dealing with those themes in a similar way as The Assistant did, and in this movie, I think it does it really well, although a little bit more predictably, and I think the suspense that's built in this movie is not as earned and not as felt as in the others. Although this movie definitely succeeds in a lot of different ways, both when it comes to the performances, a lot of the tension early on in the movie specifically, a lot of the filmmaking stuff I thought was cool, and also Hugo Weaving, holy shit. So let me get into it. So The Royal Hotel stars Julia Garner and Jessica Henwick as they are these two girls who are in Australia on vacation, and they go to this remote little town, and they're working in this bar on their vacation in Australia. And they're living in this bar, and they're also bartenders, and everybody in this town, it's a bunch of men, and they come to this bar, and they get drunk every single night, and they're all kind of assholes. And that causes problems, and the whole thing is kind of a commentary on what it is like for people that would work in this environment, specifically women, and it's really kind of hard to watch at times because a lot of these men are just really the worst. But also, as a person who has lived in real life and has been to bars and has, you know, been out drinking, I've seen people behave the ways that they behave in this movie, and it made the movie feel a lot more real than I was expecting, at least with some of the real asshole characters in here. It does get a little absurd at times, a little extreme, I think, you know, near the latter half of the film, but ultimately that's the main thing that made this movie feel kind of, you know, disturbing and hard to watch from a thriller standpoint, because a lot of these characters felt extremely real. They felt like they were doing things that I have personally seen with my own two eyes in real life. Because alcohol, it's an amazing thing. And we get to see these two girls who are clearly escaping something that we don't understand truly. We don't really see their past or where they come from, but we know they're trying to get away from something and enjoy this trip that they're on. Enjoy this trip, enjoy their time in Australia, but now they are running into something. Instead of running away from something, they have now run into something that both girls kind of handle a little bit differently, but they ultimately come to a similar conclusion. But it is really interesting to see how both girls kind of deal with the situation that they're presented with. And Julia Garner's amazing, very underrated actor. She's amazing in everything she's in. Jessica Henwick, I think, is the real star here. She does some amazing work in this film. And there are a couple scenes specifically that just the whole point of them is to make you feel like icky. And there's stuff like that in The Assistant, scenes that just wanted to make you feel that same, you know, ugly feeling and that terrifying feeling that a woman would feel in the situations that they're put in these films. And there are a couple of scenes in this movie that really got you in that mindset, in that suspenseful kind of cringiness and fear that the girls feel, and it's done really well and really thoughtful. Ultimately, my main problem with this movie, though, is I feel like it doesn't get anywhere as interesting as The Assistant. The Assistant is very subtle in the way it tells its story, and this movie tries to be more subtle, but then it also tries to be very large by the end of it. It tries to be something larger and more ridiculous, and I think if the movie kind of kept that small, you know, subtle pacing and subtle writing that The Assistant kind of went by, where it's not really shoving it in your face by the end, I think it would have been a lot better, but I still had a very good time watching this movie, and I think it's amazing. I think the fact that they got Hugo Weaving in this movie is awesome, and he doesn't, you know, do too much, but what he does do is great. It's Hugo Weaving. I mean, who doesn't like him? I also think the ending of this movie is super satisfying. It kind of ends quickly. I kind of wish this movie, God, I'm like the last person that would ever say this, because I'm always complaining about movies being too long, but this is one of those few movies that I honestly wish there was another, like, 20 minutes in this movie. I could have done with a 2-hour cut of this film. I think there was a lot to explore here, and I just really like the characters a lot, so there could have been a lot more to do here. Maybe there is a longer cut, or maybe this is exactly how it was designed. I have no idea. idea. But overall, this is a movie that I really enjoyed, and altogether, like, I really love The Assistant, and I think Kitty Green is an incredible young filmmaker. I mean, between The Assistant and now The Royal Hotel, this is one of those filmmakers on a growing list of filmmakers that I have that I'm watching out for, that I'm going to be excited every time they make a video. And I always hear all these people saying this is one of the worst times in cinema history. Cinema's never been at a worse place. I completely disagree. I think this is the best time we have ever lived in cinema. I think this is one of the best years for movies ever, and if you look at all the amazing filmmakers we have, you look at the top of it, you still have Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg working at their old age, Christopher Nolan, Denis Villeneuve in their prime, and then you have all of these young directors. There's dozens of them making great movies, from Damien Chazelle to Robert Eggers. Now you have Kitty Green, and there are so many more, lots of which made movies this year. This is the best time to be alive if you love movies, because we're gonna get a million movies like this going forward, and it's great, and I cannot wait to see what Kitty Green does next. I enjoyed The Royal Hotel, so I will be giving The Royal Hotel a 4 out of 5. I thought it was really good, and I think a lot of people will really be into it. So that's the video. Hope you guys like it. Make sure to like this video and subscribe for more. Click on the video on your screen right now. See you on the next one.